Please welcome to the stage Director Product Marketing Microsoft Power Platform, Richard Riley.
Okay. Hello. That's quite the jazzy music to walk onto. Hello, welcome. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Microsoft PowerApps, Power BI, and Flow Power Platform Vision and Roadmap. We've got a packed agenda for you today. I'm going to kick things off, and then we've got Charles Lamana from the PowerApps and the Flow engineering team is going to come out and talk about those apps. And then we've got the general manager of Power BI, Arun, is going to come out and talk about Power BI. So I'm going to kick things off with a little bit of kind of context setting and try and paint a picture for the rest of the session. I built this slide based on conversations with a ton of customers over the last couple of years. I've spoken to customers in every kind of vertical, every role, about the kind of challenges they're facing as they try and digitally transform their business. And it kind of boils down to a bunch of things on here, which I'm sure many of you in the room are probably quite familiar with. Like digitally transforming your business is hard. Like, it's a hard thing to do. There are tons of things that can trip you up. Things like budget constraints, like you've never got enough money, you've never got enough people. There are a ton of paper processes that are as long as your arm, and trying to figure out where you start can be very hard, and lots of them are very complex. Your people don't have the right tools. You don't have the right things to be able to build solutions to the problems that you're facing. Your data is locked away in silos. It's difficult to get access to. It's hard to connect. It's hard to give access to that data securely to your employees to do clever things with. There's just a ton of stuff that gets in your way. Now, there are some kind of very obvious ways to go fix this, and that's kind of the top-down approach to digital transformation, where you have organization-wide initiatives. They can cost a ton of money. They can take a bunch of time to land, and the inertia there to get those things moving is generally pretty hard. And this is kind of where the Power Platform comes in. We kind of think of it as democratizing that digital transformation experience. It kind of falls into three pillars. The first one is we really want to be able to give everybody the ability to go kind of solve their own problems. There are tons of people in every single organization that can do amazing things when you give them the right tools and the right guidance to go use those tools. And the Power Platform is really aimed at a bunch of those people. We want to give them the tools to go empower themselves to go fix their problems. Mostly these people are closest to the problem space, and they're closest to the data. And the second one is giving them access to the data. We want to make sure that we give these employees access to the data in a secure way, so that they can not only gain insight over it, but they can start building apps and things on top of it. And then finally, once those two things come together, magic happens. You will be amazed at the things that we've seen in companies, in organizations, big and small, when they bring these two first pillars together. Their employees have created amazing things, and we're going to talk to one on stage later, and I've got a couple of other examples that I'll talk to as we go through the session. So what does that actually mean in reality? The Power Platform. It consists of three core products: PowerApps, Microsoft Flow, and Power BI. Now, PowerApps is our solution to low-code, no-code application creation that works on the web and it works on mobile. Microsoft Flow is our solution to enterprise workflow. Again, low-code, no-code. This is designed for your end users to go use. And then we have Power BI, which is our solution for self-service business intelligence. Now, these things aren't standalone only. Like, clearly, they are standalone products, and they work independently of each other. But the key thing we've done with the Power Platform is make a concerted effort to make these things work cleverly and smartly and seamlessly together. So, for example, PowerApps. It's super easy to embed PowerApps into a BI dashboard. It's very easy to incorporate Microsoft Flow into a Power App. It's easy to embed a Power App into a dashboard, which I think I just said, and the other way around. It's easy for Microsoft to embed a Power BI tile into a Power App. So we made a concerted effort, and we continue to expand on what these three products can do together, so they work seamlessly. We really want the total value of these three products together to be greater than the sum of their parts. Now, it's not just the products working together. They're also surrounded by a cast of supporting actors. We have a common set of data connectors that work across all of these three products that make it really drop-dead simple, point-and-click simple, to pull data into a Power App, to pull data into Power BI, to leverage and shift data between systems with Microsoft Flow. It's a common framework for getting data in and out of these applications. And then we've got the common data service for apps. That gives you a platform to go build Power Apps on that's incredibly simple to use. You can store data in it. You can build Power Apps on top of it. Microsoft Flow understands it. Power BI understands it. It's incredibly easy, again, for all of these three applications to leverage data and use the Common Data Service for Apps as an application platform. And then Azure. These are all built on top of Azure, and Azure is the extensibility platform for all of them. So if your end users, the low-code, no-code experience kind of hits a wall, and there's something that the products don't do, you can go leverage Azure to extend the capabilities of all of these applications to essentially make the capability that you want to exist and then give that back to your end users to go use. So a real solid foundation. And the thing that underpins all this is the common data model. Now, the common data model is a common schema. It describes data. It describes customers. It describes patients. It describes hundreds of different types of entities, data types, that all of these three applications can natively understand. So if you try and build a Power App, and you're building it off the Common Data Service for Apps, and that data is in the Common Data Model format, Power Apps will understand that data and be able to do smart things with it. Power BI can natively understand Common Data Model formatted data and build models and do smart things with it because it understands the data and the relationships. So a whole suite of things that come together to kind of build this strength that we believe we have in the Power Platform. So moving on, the obligatory wall of logos of customers that are doing cool stuff with Power Apps. We have lots, and they're doing some amazing things. And I actually want to focus in on three customers and just tell a little bit of a story about what they're doing. The first one is GJ Pepsi. Now, GJ Pepsi are a Pepsi bottling distributor in Ohio. They have about 1,600 employees, and a ton of those employees are actually what they call merchandisers. So they go out to stores, QFC, grocery stores, and they will check, they'll check stock, they'll check the merchandising experience in those stores, they'll make sure the price is set right, they'll make sure that the store hasn't done anything funky with their displays. And previously to Power Apps coming on the scene, this process used to be a very manual paper-based process. So they used to fax the orders back into the head office. If there was an issue with the display, they'd have to call that in, and then someone would pick it up or it'd get lost. Now, a guy called Eric McKinney at GJ Pepsi decided to try and fix this. He sits in IT. He's not a developer, but he found Power Apps. And what he did in a couple of weeks is essentially digitize that process end to end. He built a Power App that his merchandising employees that go out to these stores could load onto their mobile phone. They could walk into a store. They could automatically reorder or digitally reorder stock using the app, and it used Flow in the back to send that order through to the supply chain that they used. If there were any issues with the merchandising in the store, they could use the camera built into the phone to take a picture. That, again, used Flow and sent that back into someone's inbox, so there was an audit trail there for someone to go fix it. It literally took him 2 weeks. That in itself is amazing. Like, he was shocked how quickly and how much success he could achieve within 2 weeks. What he did next is really the smart thing. Because these merchandisers were saving a ton of time in stores, he started to get them to do extra things. So he built some extra pages in his app, for example, to go and start looking at competitors' prices. So we also in the store, they were not only ordering Pepsi products, they were actually logging the prices of competitors within the store. That all started to get fed back into a database, back at head office. He started to run Power BI analytics on the top of that. So they started to get in real time a view of all of their territories, not only what they were doing in their territories, but what their competitors were doing, all based off this Power App that he had written. He's not a developer. Which meant they could literally look and see where Coca-Cola or the generic brand products in the stores, what prices they are at, what promotions they are running, and they could make real-time decisions based off of what their competitors are doing, all from building this Power App to begin with. So there's GJ Pepsi. The next one I want to talk about is Autoglass. There's a guy called Martin Lee, who is a dispatch agent at Autoglass. Now, I'm sure you all know what Autoglass is. You get a ding in your windshield, they come out and they fix it or they replace it. Now, the process for actually doing that is quite complicated, particularly when Martin works in the commercial division. So they go out and they look after fleet vehicles. So they've got hundreds of vehicles at each customer to go inspect and check for damage and or a repair or replacement, depending on what the problem is. The way that process was done before Martin found PowerApps, again, was with pencil and paper, or pen and paper, and Excel spreadsheets. They were literally emailing Excel spreadsheets around to schedule the inspectors to go out and look at these cars. Now, Martin was at the sharp end of that pointy stick because he was the guy having to call the dispatch people and send these Excel spreadsheets around. So he found PowerApps one day. And again, within 2 or 3 weeks, Martin had completely digitized that process. He had gone from Excel spreadsheets to using the Common Data Service for apps, building a Power App on top of it, and giving all of those inspectors a mobile app that they could go and use to request replacement windscreens, to look up details of the cars that they needed to repair or replace the windshield for, to being able to bill the customers directly through the Power App. He literally digitized the thing end to end. And it took him 3 weeks to get that first production app and the app in the hands of those inspectors. So it was incredibly, incredibly fast. Martin has actually now gone on to work in IT. He's no longer a dispatch agent, and he's built tens of apps for Autoglass. And he said the other day when I was talking to him that he believes at least every person in Autoglass uses one of his apps at least once a day. And he built all this stuff on top of Power Apps. This guy was not in IT. He wasn't a developer. This guy was a dispatch agent at Autoglass who just got bored of doing the same thing the same way over and over again. So the third example is Arriva. This is a bus company in London, or a transport company in London. And I'd love to invite Keith Watling on stage, who can actually tell his story a lot better than I can. So Keith, if you want to come up. Hey, buddy. How are you doing? So Keith, you work for Arriva. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what they do and kind of what your role is?
Yep, so Arriva Group run transport all over Europe. We've got trains and buses and water taxis and ambulances, and basically if it's got wheels and moves, we run it. The London operation that I work for, we run some of the big red buses on behalf of TfL, and we cover enough mileage in London every day to go around the world 6 times. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty impressive. So you found PowerApps, right? What was the problem that you were trying to address with PowerApps and the Power Platform?
Paper and Excel. We had a lot of paper, a lot of Excel. And we're running a lot of tasks on it. So PowerApps just seemed to be the obvious solution, really.
Okay. And then I think you did something specific with like a repair app that you were...
Yeah, so I had a big A3 sheet of paper with kind of carbon copy sheet of paper that people were recording information on that went to a clerk. So we decided to put that in a Power App. And then it kind of was really easy to add pictures to it and maybe scan a barcode in and get some GPS lat long data. And yeah, it just worked.
Okay, and how long did that take to go from kind of you thinking you needed to fix a problem to actually getting an app in the...
So I built the first app, and that took about a week or 2 to kind of figure it out. So this was a second app, and I pulled apart a template, put it together again. Took about 48 man-hours, and then the barcode took another couple because I had to figure that out, and then connecting it to the Open Data API was another couple of hours. Yeah, okay. So it's not long.
And just remind me your job title again?
I'm a data analyst.
Yeah, you're not in IT?
No, God no.
Okay, that's good. Be careful, you know your audience.
Sorry.
So we should get you off stage quick. Give me a quick lowdown. What was the key kind of value prop for PowerApps? Like, what brought you to it?
Well, I was looking at, a friend of mine said to look at forms because he thought it was really cool, but it didn't do context-sensitive drop-downs, and I really wanted it to, it needed to. So I was just playing around with forms, and when I finished, I saw this purple button that said PowerApps. I thought, ooh, apps, that looks maybe a bit difficult. So I clicked on it, and I just started building apps, and I kind of put an Excel spreadsheet in there, and that worked. And then I found this thing called the Common Data Service, and well, the rest is pretty much history, really. That's
awesome. So, so what you doing next? Like, you've built how many apps now?
I've got a couple in production, yeah, and we've got some in development as well that we're about to roll out. So yeah, and we're also rolling it out to others across the organisation, trying to grow the whole PowerApps thing across Arriva, because there's other people using it now.
Got it. So what's next? What are you looking at next?
I really want to do some bits around getting to the end of the digital food chain. So there's some people in our business that are probably apps for people who haven't got apps. So they've never had an app before. They're isolated by technology because there's not enough of them to make a traditional app be cost effective. So we're trying to include them in this part of digital transformation. So where they would never have had an app before because it wasn't cost effective to build them one, we're going to build one with them and now maybe help them to build it themselves. And they will be included in the digital transformation rather than being excluded because of cost or just, it doesn't make sense to build them one because there's all these other people who need one. But PowerApps is kind of like the solution to very small amounts of people having a really cool app.
So you're really driving that digital transformation story literally from the ground up within Ariva?
Yeah, I'm kind of referring to it as digital inclusion rather than like transformation things happening, but we want no one to be left behind by it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, buddy. Well, thanks so much for coming on stage and telling your story. Really
Nice one.
appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you. So some really cool stories of where literally like the cast of characters that you would never expect to go kind of drive this transformation within an organization have done amazing things with the Power Platform. So I have one more slide, this slide, and then we're going to kind of dig into product with Charles. I just wanted to kind of show you the results of this total economic impact study we did with Forrester a few months ago. It came up with some numbers that even, to be honest, shocked us. Like people using Power Platform, Flow, and PowerApps specifically, they were seeing like 70% reduction in the development costs for building mobile apps. A 362% return on investment. And the thing that really blew my mind was it was paying for itself within 3 months. This research is actually available on the PowerApps.com website if you want to go download it and take a read of it. It's worth a read through. So with that said, I'm going to hand over to Charles, and he's going to talk about PowerApps and Flow. And he's also, one thing I should have said, he's also going to show a demo and shows Arun of some of the stuff that Keith actually built in Ariva. So we're going to use Ariva's scenario for the demos that we're going to do for the rest of the session. So with that said, Charles.
I had to wait for the music.
Thank you.
So I'll be doing a little bit deeper dive into PowerApps and Flow than what Richard was just talking about. Just to kind of level set, I hope everybody knows this by this point today with all PowerApps and all the different keynotes and sessions. But PowerApps is all about making it incredibly easy to build mobile and web experiences from UI to data that can really change the business processes in your company. And a big part of that is you can actually now embed that development right inside the business, just like we heard with J&J Pepsi and Ariva just a few seconds ago. If you were to go drill into the major areas and really the long-term vision of PowerApps, it kind of comes down to just 6 different things. The first is going all back to that easy creation to build apps. And we say low code or no code. That combination is important because low code means that there's actually a place for developers to come in and contribute and amplify the abilities of the apps. And no code means that you can have people who can never write code being able to actually go create those applications. Another key element is that you can connect to over 230 different data sources right out of the box with PowerApps. This makes it incredibly easy to pull down information from other business applications or databases, whether it be something like SQL or DB2 or SAP. You can all leverage that right inside of PowerApps without having to write any code. And in the case where we don't have one of those connectors available out of the box, and we do ship new connectors almost every single week, you have the ability to create what's called a custom connector. And that's a way where a developer can go register an API or an endpoint, so it shows up as a building block inside PowerApps for all the non-developers or citizen developers in your company to leverage in their apps as well as in their flows. Another core element is that we have the common data service for apps. This underpins the entire platform. This is where Dynamics 365 natively stores all of its data. It's also where you can store your business data that you want to create or you want to use as part of your custom business applications, or even an application that integrates natively with all your other Office applications as well. And the common data service for apps is way more than just a database. It has a whole bunch of rich logic and capabilities inside of it. Things like plugins, which allow you to register code in response to events, as well as business rules, which is an easy visual way to create basic validation and defaulting. All of that's packaged up in CDS for apps, and that's a major area of investment for us going forward. Another core element is the incredibly deep and rich integration with all the other Microsoft properties. PowerApps is the app platform for all of Microsoft. And you can see this if you go to SharePoint Online, where you can easily customize a form by using the PowerApps Studio, as well as in Teams, where you can create a channel tab that's actually just a Power App, connecting using those 230 other connectors to all the different data sources and all the different applications and services in use within your company. And that extends, of course, to Dynamics 365 and Power BI as well. And we have a great demo around Power BI later on, showing how tightly these things can come together to really provide that whole solution through the Power Platform. A core element of all of this, and whenever I talk to customers, this always comes up, which is, hey, if I'm building a Power App, how do I take control? How do I make sure that basically app creation doesn't run rampant inside of my enterprise if you're in IT or something like that? And there's all kinds of powerful governance capabilities like data loss prevention, as well as analytics. And this is something that we're constantly investing in to make easier and more straightforward, where you can enable and empower your entire company to create apps and workflows, but you don't lose control. And you can make sure it happens in boundaries that you care about. And lastly, powerful professional developer extensibility. This is through things like custom controls, which are written in JavaScript, custom logic, which is written in Azure, or plugins that are registered with the system, and many other instances. Whether you're actually starting with no developer experience, all the way to a true, full Visual Studio developer, you're able to contribute and participate and contribute value in the Power Apps platform. And that really goes back to what we internally call no cliffs, which means you can start with the simple and go even to the most advanced all around this platform. And you can really see this in the press. So PC Mag, for the second year in a row, chose Power Apps and the associated platform capabilities as its editor's choice for a low-code application development environment. And the key thing I want to call out is they say that it's not just about, or it's everything that you want for a power user as well as a developer. And that goes back to that from no code to some code to lots of code. You can do all of it with Power Apps. So 2 years in a row, that recognition from PC Magazine and tons of other great coverage in terms of actually delivering on that promise of that full no-cliffs experience for application creation. And in terms of where we're heading, what are our major roadmap items? I'm going to talk about what's coming in our October release, and things will be coming out in private preview, public preview, or general availability, and things will also be coming released later this year. I'm going to kind of step through all of these different items, but two main areas of investment for us have been enabling and lighting up enterprise-grade app creator capabilities, or app maker, as well as powerful and potent admin experiences so you can actually manage Power Apps and the hundreds or thousands of apps that may start sprouting up in your company, which is something we're seeing as an emergent phenomenon for customers today. So if you talk about enterprise-grade app experiences, two of our favorite features are these: App Checker and Solution Checker. App Checker analyzes all of your application to look for different data patterns, data queries, to go make recommendations around reliability and performance. And Solution Checker does the same thing, but for your entire solution. It goes and it looks at your plugins, your code, your workflow, your forms, all of that, and actually, again, makes recommendations. And in the case of both of these, it's based on hundreds of rules that we've learned from our largest enterprise deployments that we've taken back into the product. And this is always getting smarter and is a major area of investment for us. That way, no matter who you are, we can actually provide a style cop, FX cop style integration, so we can actually make sure we govern and manage what's being built and what's being created. Additionally, we have new end-to-end application lifecycle management. This is one of the top most asked features from our customers, and it's all about making it easy for, say, a large project of multiple developers or power users to collaborate on an application or solution and manage its release from, say, test environments to user acceptance testing to production. You can now do all of that. Everything is what's called solution aware. So you can bundle your Canvas apps, your flows, your data entities, your plugins, all of that together, and very easily move it between environments so that you can actually have a full continuous integration, continuous deployment strategy with Power Apps, just like you would if you were, say, working in Azure, if you're used to that as a developer. Another big element is the ability to bring Canvas apps into model-driven apps. So if you're a Dynamics admin or you're familiar with model-driven apps, this is really important because it brings things like the 230 connectors, as well as the on-premise data gateway, as well as a pixel-perfect design, all together in a single screen. You can generate most of your UI from the data. That's what model-driven is all about. And you can go plug in the Canvas apps so you can actually have incredibly visually appealing experiences. The next wave is all about our SharePoint enhancements. I'm sure there's lots of SharePoint admins in the crowd here. And we've dramatically improve the performance of PowerApps when it's embedded inside of SharePoint. We've added a bunch of new capabilities to the connector associated with SharePoint, added new controls and data awareness, as well as attachments, which was probably the #1 requested feature. And I know if we came back to Ignite without this, I probably would have been forced off the stage. So a whole bunch of big improvements for SharePoint. And lastly, custom controls. It's now very easy for developers to go create a UI component, which you can go register, and reuse that control in your model-driven apps to actually get a visual experience specific to what your company requires. And if you talk about the admin experiences, there's the new unified management portal, which makes it easy to go look across all the different apps and flows and connectors and connections and entities and databases used within your company. We also have powerful out-of-box admin analytics, so you can quickly see how much each of those are being used. You can go find the apps that have kind of virally grown within your company if you're in IT and take control, or even just have an idea if you're getting the return on investment that you expect by enabling PowerApps within your company. And lastly, there's rich PowerShell support. So now when you're looking at, say, 1,000 apps or in your company, you don't have to go click through the UI to do tasks and actions. You can actually write a PowerShell script to automate it, which is the tool that people know and love in terms of actually managing that type of deployment. So altogether, these really bring a significant step forward to really make PowerApps have much more potent app creator experiences, as well as the ability to go manage and administrate it from a central location. Now turning to Microsoft Flow. Flow is all about making it easy to automate those workflows and tasks, as well as to standardize the business processes on top of your apps, data, and services. And it does this via a visual creation experience, just like PowerApps, where you click together based on triggers or events. You can then take a bunch of different actions. And this set of capabilities is a really key complement to PowerApps, because very frequently apps are all about the experience of end users, whereas Flow is how you can actually operate and automate in the background and in the back end. And if we go back to the core points of Microsoft Flow, just like we talked about from PowerApps, which is what informs our roadmap and vision going forward. Flow, again, just very simple. Automate those business processes, take away manual activities, respond to events without having to have a human in the middle. We also have a great experience around the more advanced capabilities, whether it be things like branching, like if-else, switch statements, or loops like for each or do until, are all capabilities that you would expect from an advanced workflow engine. And even though you can start very easily visually with Flow, you can actually keep going deeper and deeper to build a very complex workflow using this piece of technology. Additionally, it supports the same set of connectors that PowerApps does, over 230 different connectors. Whether they're on-premise or in the cloud, you can go integrate with them, and it has the same custom connector framework. So if you actually register a custom connector which connects to your internal line of business systems, you can go expose that easily through both PowerApps and Microsoft Flow. And of course, just like PowerApps, Flow has that strong enterprise security and also a great story for professional development customization, whether it be through logic or custom connectors, or in the future, the ability to go drop in more code snippets right inside the workflow. So all of these come together, really drive where we're investing in the future for Flow, and aligns very closely with the other items in the Power Platform, just like we heard in the case of PowerApps. So if we go to what Flow is actually releasing in the imminent future, just like we talked about with PowerApps, there's 3 main areas. The first is around improving the Flow Maker tools to make it more robust and more capable. The second is deeper integration into all the different technologies and services you already use in your business. And the third is increasing the enterprise grade, the strength of the platform, so you can truly bet your business on it. If we look at the Maker tools, we can see Flow Checker. Just like we talked about with the app checker and the solution checker, there's also something that will analyze your flow and make performance and reliability and quality recommendations based on the rules that we've seen operating a hyperscale worldwide service with Microsoft Flow. And instead of having to learn the hard way in production, you can actually use the flow checker as you're developing the flow or before you go live. We also have Power Query integration. So people who are familiar with Power Query from, say, Power BI, you're able to actually create rich data experiences right inside the Flow Designer, where you can mash up data, you can collapse data, you can fold it, all without having to write any code. And this is available right integrated in the Flow Design experience. Between these two things, it's easier than ever to actually have rich data flowing through your flow, as well as the ability to go check it and make sure that you're not going to run into any issues when you go live. Additionally, if we talk about integrated experiences, there's a more robust and a more comprehensive Teams integration. The app now can be installed at the team level instead of personal level. This comes with a whole bunch of new actions and commands, as well as the ability to go author and view your flows right inside of Microsoft Teams, whether it's on the web or on the desktop client. And you can even use Flow to actually execute commands and actions using the power bar in Teams. And this capability allows you to actually make use of the 230 different connectors in PowerApps and Flow as a command inside of Teams. So if you want to go connect to something or take an action in the system, but you can't because there's not Teams integration for it, you can actually go look at using Flow or PowerApps to go extend that. A ton of great capabilities there. In the case of OneDrive for Business, Flow also now appears in that list. So just like when SharePoint doc libs, you can go in and actually trigger a flow, either based on an event, like a file appearing, or in response to a user selecting a file and executing a flow, say requesting for approval or sign-off. That now all natively works in OneDrive as well. And again, these two things reflect the increasing investment across Microsoft on the Power Platform to be what drives customization and creation for Power users and developers alike. And this is going to be a consistent theme for us going forward, in that if you want to go customize a Microsoft product, you can go look to PowerApps, Flow, or Power BI as a way to go do that. And lastly, we have the enterprise-grade platform. So just like we were talking about in PowerApps, where you can go see what the usage looks like for a Power App, you can also do that for Flow. You can see how many times it's run in an interval, how many errors there are, whether or not a user has accessed it recently, who the owner is. All that information is exposed easily to admins. And it makes it incredibly important when you think about flows that end up becoming mission critical that maybe weren't originally mission critical. And this ability is what allows Flow to allow and empower your entire employee base to go create a bunch of automations while at the same time maintaining control. And the same application lifecycle management that we talked about with PowerApps, where you can actually take all these different components of your solution together, from the data to the logic to the UI to the workflow. You can also include Microsoft flows inside that same solution. So you can actually move them together with PowerApps, and they all natively integrate from top to bottom. And again, this is really important because if we think about, say, Dynamics, which has a really hard need for application lifecycle management, you can start to move your asynchronous workflows to use Flow, because it integrates with the same ALM system, but brings with it a more modern stack, higher scalability, and over 230 different connectors. And lastly, across both Flow and PowerApps, we have announced support for the government cloud is coming later this year. So you'll be able to host in the .gov domain in a fully managed and compliant way. And this is a great complement to all the 13 different certifications we already have for PowerApps and Flow, which make it ready to be used in all kinds of mission-critical or highly regulated industries and situations. Which again, go back to the enterprise grade. You don't have to check over your shoulder when you're using these tools as your citizen developers and your citizen creators. And these things all together really reflect not only where we are from a product perspective, from where we're investing, what we care about, but also where we're going to keep investing going forward. We're going to invest in more diagnostics, more guidance tools like the checkers. We're going to keep investing in more professional power user scenarios so you can graduate from an app with 5 people working on it to 100 people working on it. That's where the platform is heading in the future. And to do a good demonstration of that, the best way is usually actually just to look at the thing. So I'm going to switch over to a phone over here. Let's see which. Great, I got the right phone. So earlier, Keith talked about the scenario he was working on with his Power App, where they actually had the repair runners. These are people who go out to the buses and will repair them when they break down, but they'll repair them on the route. And that's a really important detail, because you don't want to go take the bus back to the depot and take it offline for multiple hours. This is really important to have a great customer experience. And before, that was all pen and paper. That was phone calls, text messages, emails with Excel files, things like that. That's how you actually manage the process. But with PowerApps, he was able to build a powerful mobile application that managed that entire business process. So this first screen, what we're looking at here, the gray box is the currently pending repair, and the white section below, which I'm scrolling through right now, is previously completed repairs. The gray box is highlighted on the top, and you can actually see there's some tight integration there around Leah Bridge, Clapton Pond, things like that. Those are actually the next stops for the bus. And this is important because the repair runner, if the bus is still operating, they don't want to stop the bus. They actually want to go meet it at the next stop and repair it there. so they can easily pull up that information. And that's actually done by coming from Traffic for London and a bunch of other data sources to go pull that information. So say if I click through into this pending repair, we can see there's all kinds of great information here around what is the license plate of the bus I'm going to repair, what route is it running, what is the next stop, where I should be trying to meet it, things like that. And I can actually go fill out the information right in here about what's wrong. So in this case, say the defect category I want to say is body damage, and I can say there's a big dent, something like that. And I can say, hey, I'm going to repair this thing. And as part of that, I'm going to take a picture. And I'll take a picture of you guys. Great. Crowd. And then take another picture. You can take a bunch of different pictures, crowd 2. The idea being that before, with pen and paper or things like that, you actually would have to do a whole bunch of, it just was impossible. There's no way to take a picture with pen and paper unless you're going to go sketch it out. But you can now do that with PowerApps. You can actually leverage those device capabilities natively. We also have a map, which as I complete the repair records where I was, so I don't actually have to enter what stop or what location I actually did the repair. And I can also say use a barcode scanner. So say if I want to say what repair item did I actually drop in there, it'll look it up based on the barcode, which I just have here on a piece of paper. And it'll say, okay, I don't know what this, a fuel filter or something, if I want to go drop it in. This automatically can be taken out of inventory and things like that, which makes it very easy for me to track all this information together. And PowerApps brings together all these different data sources, something like 10 different data sources into a single mobile experience, which they can take with them in their pocket with their own devices. And this is built by a non-developer. That's what is so special about it, someone actually from the business. And if I go and say I click through repair history, I can actually go see all the repair histories associated with this particular bus as well. Because if I go check here and, hey, we fixed the brakes 5 times in the last week, maybe it is time to take it to the bus depot. Maybe we have to go in for a bigger repair. All this information kind of can click through and actually go look, okay, this is what was fixed before. Just an incredibly rich experience end to end, many different screens, and not that hard to build. And to prove it, we'll actually go build it. So I'll switch over to the computer. Okay, there we go. So what we're looking at here is PowerApps Studio. It's just like PowerPoint in that it's very easy for you to actually go author what you want your application to look like visually. We can see on the left-hand side, we have a whole bunch of different screens, just like you would see slides in PowerPoint. We can see in the center area right here, this is actually the screen that we were just looking at on the app. And that's what's incredibly powerful about PowerApps is as you build the app, you're actually looking at the app run itself with real data, with real logic evaluating. This makes it incredibly productive to go build fairly complex applications. So say if I switch over to a view I like to use more frequently, we can see I have a gallery here. This is just a collection of different things. And these are the repair items that I've actually done before. And we can see the items is a fairly complex expression up here, but it's actually not that complex. It's basically just pulling down all the pending repair requests that have a repair information already recorded, which means it's done or been completed, and showing it right here in this display. And the way I bound that data is just right inside this simple experience where I can go choose a data source. I've chosen the Common Data Service because that's where I actually choose to store my information in the case of this Power App. I also have the ability to go change my field layout. It's pretty easy right here. You can see all the different information being pulled out and displayed right in that simple grid. So that's just a very easy snap it together type experience, and you can go tinker with different elements inside that gallery to make it a little more complex. And if I go up here, I actually have a different piece of information, which is the gallery of pending requests. That's what's in this gray box. And this has a similar expression up here, which is basically saying, hey, I want to take from the repair requests table in the Common Data Service. I'm going to do a filter based on the fact that there's been no repair action taken. I want to sort by the ones that are most recently done. That's what sort by does, and take the first 5. So a very, very easy way to snap these things together on these screens. But that's not super interesting necessarily, right? Just to go review the different information. What I may want to go do is actually take an action. So if I say click through into one of these repair items, so when I'm actually on site looking at an item that I'm repairing, I want to have that same type of rich information automatically bound. So we can see I have an edit form, which is actually allowing me to edit that same repair request entity right inside the context of the application without having to go leave it or anything like that. And again, it's pulling the schema and fields automatically from the Common Data Service, so I can very easily edit that particular record or go create new records if I need to. And there's a whole bunch of other great device capabilities down here, like taking a photo, taking the barcode, things like that. And the one thing I do want to call out while I'm on the screen is the data sources. So PowerApps, like we were talking about, one of the key things is having tons of connectors. We have over 230 connectors today. We're going to keep building connectors until we have basically the whole world covered. But this Power App alone uses 4 different entities in the Common Data Service. It uses a Transport for London API, it uses Azure Blob Storage, uses Bing Maps, speech to text, all kinds of different capabilities. Just all integrated, again, without having to write any code. If you just think about what you could build this entire app in just a day, it would take you a day just to figure out authentication to those many services. So even if you come from a developer background, there's a lot of agility and speed available for you. And if you come from a non-developer background, it would just be impossible otherwise. So if I go over here and say I want to go add on one last screen, remember the repair history screen, we can actually go drop that on right here. So say I just drop on a gallery, which is just, again, that collection, a list of items. So that'll drop that on right there. And if I drag this down, I can then bind to the data source. So this is just a simple list. It's a bunch of placeholder text right now. If I want to, I can go to Add Data Source. It's going to pull up all the different data sources that are inside of this particular app. And maybe I want to create a new connection. If I look, these are all the connectors, just tons and tons and tons of them, all available off the shelf. I don't want to use that, actually. I'm going to use a data source I've already configured, which is that repair history item. So I'll come here and say repair requests. This will go pull down that information. Not very beautiful at first, right? But that's not a big problem. I can then say, from a layout, I don't want image title and subtitle. I actually want title, subtitle, and body. That's just 3 text fields, and still not really pretty, but it's very easy for me to say drop in here, choose the title. I can say, hey, what do I want to do? I want the defect category label. See, that's brakes, engine, air system, things like that. Automatically binds, just refreshes in real time. Don't have to compile, don't have to publish, anything like that. I then go to the subtitle. I like created on, so I'll keep that. I can then go to the body. And for body, maybe I want the defect details, because that probably makes more sense, right? Like brake safety light coming on, right? And that could be an example of what that looks like. And if I click through in here, maybe I don't want the chevron. So just very easily, click, 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 bringing this thing together. And if you think about it, maybe I want to actually, hey, I want the rows a little bit bigger. So I'll drag this bigger. You can see it gets bigger, so on. And then maybe I want to drop on like an image. So I'll drop on an image right here. I got no image right now that's defined, but I'll choose something simple. So maybe I'll do, what image do I want? I'll do something like if the defect category label is equal to brakes, I want to use this Ariva one that I have breakdown. Otherwise, I want to use sample image. And if you think about this, just very easy Excel-like expression language. I'm able to do basic logic right in the Power App. And again, the logic just evaluates immediately. I can quickly see this image comes up. So in the cases where the value is brakes, up there for the label, I can actually see that we have this triangle icon. And where it's not, I have a sample image. And I'm just, for time's sake, I won't actually go create all the different images. But you can see how easy it starts to get really to create this app. So I can come up here, say, and also maybe increase the size of the particular label. I have all kinds of different capabilities that I can do very, very easily right inside the Power Apps context. And if you fast forward, kind of like the Easy Bake Oven, what comes out in the end, maybe it looks something like this, a little bit nicer if you just have a few more minutes. But the one thing I do want to call out before I leave the Power Apps Studio is the app checker. We talked about this. This is now available, and it's getting better every day with additional logic. That's right up here, this little stethoscope there to go help you in your app. And if you see, the app checker is run, and it's identified 1 issue with my formula and 83 issues with accessibility. So say screen readers to work on my app. So I got a lot of work to do. If I click on the formula, we can see, hey, we have a delegation warning. And what this is basically telling me is this particular filter I've written, this doesn't happen on the server. It actually happens on the client. And we have a whole great article explaining delegation if you go look it up after seeing this error. And this can tell you that you need to go change your filter or potentially change how you do your data layout. Because if you don't, when you actually end up with a lot of data in the back end, your app is going to start running dreadfully slow. So these types of things we can go catch during authoring time automatically by intelligently providing guidance. So that's the App Studio. The one other thing I want to quickly show is flow. So if we go back to the app, there's a little button here which is take 24-hour offline. We see right here. And you do that when something's horribly broken with the bus. You just can't fix it on the side of the road. You got to bring it back to the depot. And that's something that should be used only as a last resort. And to make sure that's the case, you can actually use Microsoft Flow. And what the flow does is it looks and says, when there's an update inside the repair requests entity, which is where we're storing that information, and we're updating the request 24-hour sheet field, so we're scoping this flow to only run when that field changes, which is a brand new preview capability, I then actually want to run this particular workflow. You can see, hey, if it hasn't changed, so it's true, that's great. And I actually want to start an approval process. And the approval process is going to generate an email and track who actually has approved this request, all with the same context that came out of the common data service. And that's done by something called dynamic content. So you see these little tokens that are inside the designer. The email for this approval will actually include this information. Hey, there's a request for 24-hour repair for this route at this station. And that actually comes all the way up from the trigger. So really tight integration, just like PowerApps, you can flow all kinds of information. And in this case, there's another condition. So we have conditions and conditions and conditions. You kind of keep going all the way you want. And we say, hey, if the approval is approved, then I want to send an email letting the manager know with the same context, using the same dynamic content. And I also want to send a push notification to the tech who actually requested it. And this way, you can just have that very quick feedback loop through the mobile experience. And if you reject it, you actually want to go back to Common Data Service and mark it as no, saying this is not a good reason. And so they look back on their phone, and it will say 24-hour request, and it will actually show no. And that's what we're doing right here by requesting a 24-hour sheet saying no. So this whole end-to-end flow can be automated without having to have humans being involved via email or text or anything else like that. Very, very standardized. And for the person doing the approval, they'll actually see a tile like this in addition to an email and various other sources, which they can click on and say, hey, yes, the bus needs repairs. They can just do this very easy experience. And this is actually captured in the Common Data Service and will show up later on in terms of the history of the approval and things like that. So with that, we've kind of gotten a whirlwind tour of a real mobile app built by a real customer that actually goes and pulls information from the Common Data Service and from a bunch of different connectors. And this makes it incredibly powerful for people like Keith to go build rich experiences and really transform their business and deliver tons of great value without having to write huge amounts of code. And that kind of goes back to that overarching guide and principles around PowerApps and Flow of being about no code to low code, simple to more complex. You can do it all with that same platform with professional developer extensibility. And for the next section, we're going to talk about the other third leg of the Power Platform, which is Power BI. And I'm going to turn that over to Arun.
All right. Thanks so much, Charles. All right, good afternoon. My name is Arun. I run the Power BI engineering team in Redmond. I'm really excited to be here. Over the next 20 or so minutes, we'll talk about some of the incredible things going on with Power BI. I'll talk to you a little bit about our future direction and where we're investing in, and then I'll invite Will up to show some demos. So let's get started. So for those of you who know Power BI really is about experiencing your data. So you can pretty much connect to data from any data source, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud. You can quickly bring it into Power BI. You can shape it into any which way you want to, and then create some beautiful-looking reports and dashboards so that you can get the analytics that help you transform your business. And that's great, right? But when you talk to customers, the thing that gets them really excited about Power BI is it helps them drive a data culture. A culture in which every single employee in the organization is making decisions based on facts, not just opinions. Right. So if you look at Microsoft, we have well over 100,000 employees, and typically on a given month, we have about 95,000 employees using Power BI every single month. So if you walk the hallways in Microsoft, you'll see Power BI dashboards on TV screens. If you walk by meeting rooms, you will see that in many cases, Power BI complements PowerPoint as the way to be able to discuss issues and take decisions. So that's great for Microsoft, but when you think about how you can go back to your organizations and help drive a data culture, there are 3 areas of investment that we have put in that make it really easy for you to do the same thing. So the first is starting with business users. And we talk about this as the 5x5 principle. 5 seconds to sign up, 5 minutes to real business value. And that's been really important for us because it has guided a lot of decisions in Power BI so that we can accelerate time to business value for end users. So your business users can very quickly get to the insights that matter, to get to these beautiful reports and dashboards that they can use to analyze their data, but they can also use to be able to share, collaborate, and have a conversation. So that's the first area of investment. We've also invested in natural language. So what if you're in a situation where you don't have the report on the dashboard doesn't actually give you the answer you're looking for? So this is an area that we have invested in. So with Power BI, you can simply ask questions in plain English. And Power BI will comb through your data set and try to figure out the answer for you. It'll try to figure out what you're looking for. It'll also try to pull up the right visualization so that it can visually answer your questions, right? Another area we've invested in, again, to make it easier and shorten the time to value, is in something that we call as quick insights. Because often you have so much data that you're wrestling with that the insights don't immediately pop. So what Power BI does is it analyzes your data. It looks for those nuggets of information that you might be interested in, and then it brings them to you. So this is called as quick insights, and this is also another capability that's really, really popular with our business users. So that's the first area of investment we talked about. The second area of investment in terms of helping you drive a data culture is Power BI Desktop. So this is the professional tool for business analysts, and it really helps business analysts do three things. It has a fantastic data connectivity layer, so it connects to over 80 data sources on-premise or in the cloud, pretty much any data source you can think about. And then it helps you bring the data into Power BI, and it has industry-leading data preparation capabilities. So you can mash your data, you can transform your data, you can shape it, you can cleanse it, you can get it to the shape you want for analytics. And then you can visualize it with a whole bunch of compelling visualizations that ship out of the box with Power BI Desktop. Right? And Power BI Desktop is really, really popular with business analysts. And just like Charles mentioned for Power Apps, Power BI Desktop has also been recognized as the Editor's Choice Award at PC Magazine for the last couple of years. And they called out three things. They called out the amazing data visualization capabilities. They called out how intuitive it is. They also called out how well it integrates with the rest of Office 365. So it's great to have a compelling experience for business users. It's great to have a tool for business analysts. However, if you can't get Power BI in the hands of every single employee, it doesn't actually help you drive a data culture. So you need an economic model that makes sense. And this is where we've created a pretty disruptive economic model. Power BI Desktop is completely free. Right? It's not free for a limited period of time. It's not free in terms of constraint capabilities. It's completely free. Because we wanted to make it easy for every single business analyst to be able to download Power BI Desktop, to be able to see what it can do, to be able to connect to the data sources and create those analytics that make sense for them and their organization. We also made it really simple for you to be able to license up the users for Power BI. Power BI is priced at less than $10 per user per month. And if you own Office 365, the E5 suite, Power BI is already included. So this has really enabled organizations to standardize on Power BI, to drive Power BI across large parts of the enterprise, if not the complete organization. And if you don't want to pay on a per-user basis, last year we introduced a capacity-based pricing model, where you can simply buy the capacity you need and put all the users that you want against that capacity. So these are the three areas of investment we made to really make it easy for you to drive the data culture within your organization. And this has really resonated with customers. So we're seeing some pretty massive usage of Power BI. Today, over 20 million data models are hosted in the Power BI service. Right? Customers upload over 10 petabytes of data to Power BI every single month, and typically Power BI can process up to 8 million, or actually 9 million queries per hour. So really, really strong uptake from customers. We're also seeing Gartner recognize the industry leadership. So Power BI has been recognized as pretty much the leader in terms of being furthest to the right and furthest, pretty much at the top in Gartner's Magic Quadrant. And this is the 11th straight year that Microsoft has been recognized as the leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. Right? So now let me switch gears and talk to you about some of the investment areas. So there are three areas that we're investing in. The first is we're taking the self-service BI capabilities of Power BI, and we're adding a lot of enterprise BI capabilities to it. So for those of you who are familiar with SQL Server, you know Microsoft has a rich history of enterprise BI capabilities with SQL Server analysis services and SQL Server reporting services. We're bringing many of those capabilities to Power BI. The second is we're expanding our big self-service data preparation capabilities, and we're bringing those capabilities to big data on Azure. And I'll show you what we're talking about there. And the third is we're continuing to invest in our artificial intelligence capabilities so that end users and business analysts have the experience that make their day-to-day jobs easier. So let's start with the first area, the unifying self-service and enterprise BI. So we know that within the enterprise, you have really, really large semantic models. You have, you want to organize everything by department, you want to organize it by function, so you often have data models that have hundreds of tables, right? Complex relationships. And what we're doing is we're bringing a lot of this, the ability to support these really large data models to Power BI. We're also expanding the modeling capability in Power BI Desktop so it can effectively manage all of these complex relationships, these really, really large data models. The second area of investment in unifying self-service and enterprise BI, from a semantic model perspective, is we're adding support for something called aggregations. Well, why is aggregations important? We know in today's world, you're dealing with massive volumes of data. When you look at weblogs, when you look at product telemetry, you're often not just dealing with millions of rows, but billions of rows, and sometimes trillions of rows. So with aggregations, what we're doing in Power BI is Power BI can intelligently aggregate some of the larger tables for you so that 98, 99% of the queries that end users are trying to analyze can just be served from the aggregations table, which is in memory and is very, very fast and very, very fluid. The third area we're investing in for your semantic models is something called XMLA connectivity. XMLA, we're supporting the XMLA protocol. So it sounds like a very geeky thing to do, XML for analytics, but it's essentially allows the data models that you create in Power BI to be able to be connected to, not just from within Power BI, but from any tool that supports XMLA. And that's supported by Excel, that's supported by pretty much all your BI tools out there. So the data models that you create in Power BI, the semantic, the rich data models, can not just serve Power BI, but can serve the rest of your enterprise. Right. So these are the capabilities that we're bringing into Power BI in terms of semantic modeling. The second area we're integrating into Power BI is enterprise reporting. So for those of you who are familiar with SQL Server reporting services, you know it does a really good job with multi-page paginated reports that are pixel perfect, that you can get into your inbox this morning, or you can send to the printer, and it has headers and footers, and it actually works beautifully. And lots of you have SQL Server reporting services deployed. What we're doing is we're integrating SQL Server reporting services into Power BI. So these multi-page paginated reports become a native artifact in Power BI, and you can access them directly from within your Power BI experience. Right. So we talked about unifying self-service and enterprise BI. The second area of investment is around self-service data preparation for big data. And here what we're doing is we're using the Power Query experience. So Power Query is built into Power BI, but it's also built into PowerApps, it's built into Microsoft Excel. So tens of millions of users know how to use Power Query to ingest data and mash it up and transform it. However, you were constrained to the amount of data you could process in a typical machine. Now what we're doing is we're bringing Power Query's capabilities to Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Right? So what it means that you can scale up your data preparation. So the business analyst using point-and-click experiences can define data transformations and bring the transformed and mashed up data into Azure Data Lake. Right? And this transformed and mashed up data you can use to serve many Power BI reports and dashboards so that you can actually create data reusability. And because all of this is on Azure Data Lake Gen 2, which is HDFS Hadoop compatible, the data that you bring in through Power BI is seamlessly interoperates with the rest of your Hadoop compatible stack. So you can use Azure Databricks against it. You can use Azure Data Factory. You can use Azure Machine Learning. And all of it operates on a single data layer without having to move around and shuttle data. And this is really important because typically the worlds of the business analysts working in tools like Power BI and the worlds of the data developers have been very distinct. Right? So we're actually helping you merge those two things. The last area we're investing in is in more and more capabilities in pervasive artificial intelligence. So we're expanding our natural language capabilities, so not only can you ask questions, but you can ask follow-on questions. You can explore the data. We'll show you some examples. Right? The second area we're investing in is we are enabling Power BI to be able to be natively integrated with Azure. So it does, we are bringing Azure Cognitive Services in. What this means is that within Power BI, you'll be able to do text analytics. You'll be able to do topic extraction. You'll be able to do image analytics. All of this without writing any code. Right? You will just be able to tap into the Azure Cognitive Services capabilities. And the last area we're investing in is in helping you integrate with Azure Machine Learning. So if you build an Azure Machine Learning model as a data scientist, you can share that with a business analyst using Power BI, and Power BI will natively discover that Azure Machine Learning model and be able to invoke it simply through your point-and-click experiences. So these are the areas of investment that we're making in Power BI, and what I wanted to do was invite my colleague Will Thompson to show you some demos.
Thanks, Arun. Hi, everybody. My name is Will Thompson. I'm one of the program managers on the Power BI desktop team. And I wanted to talk through how Ariba could be using Power BI to analyze all that data they're capturing through their Power Apps and through various other places to help try and find some insights in that data and take some action on that to help improve the processes. So I'm going to start off playing the role of a regional or district manager who looks after a bunch of depots around London. And this is a typical sort of dashboard that I might come to every day. It's got all the information that I need to right in my fingertips to help me do my job day in, day out. So everything from the repairs that are going on to the technicians who are working, their hourly schedules, whatever it might be. And this can be a typical sort of landing page, and I get very quickly can see some of the issues that might be going on. So for example, the Tottenham Depot here has got a really high number of repairs compared to some of the others. And clicking on any of these will take me through to underlying details, more detailed information or reports, in this case that maybe somebody else has created for me. This is a really good example of a report that somebody like Keith has created and published and shared with other folks around his organization. So I can see here, yep, there's a problem here over in the Tottenham Depot, and as I hover over these, I get this nice little tooltip showing me some more information about exactly the number of repairs at each of those spots. But because this is a Power BI report, everything is linked together. So whenever I click on something, it's going to cross-highlight and filter all of the other charts in my report. So I can see that if I focus just on Tottenham, the average repair time and the number of repairs hasn't really changed that much. But actually, I can see that over time here, we had this big spike in July and August. And in those months, the average repair time was really, really low. So we've got lots of technicians running out and fixing buses all over the place, but it doesn't take very long to do those repairs. But it's probably really inefficient if they're spending all their time traveling. So let's dig in to try and find out, well, what's caused that increase in those 2 months? Now, Arun mentioned that we're building AI right into Power BI, so it's really simple for somebody to right-click on one of these charts and say, go and explain the increase. Why did that go up over those 2 months? Now, I could have gone and clicked and dragged and built my own charts and sliced and diced to try and find this, but Power BI is now really helping augment the human process of data analysis to help people look in the right places to find those answers. And in this case, I can see that there was a big increase in the number of coolant repairs in that month. That was the thing that had the biggest impact in the change. Brakes and doors had a smaller impact, and there are actually some that decreased from month to month. But coolant's probably one that we want to look at in a little bit more detail. So I can see that coolant was a problem. It doesn't look like there's any particular chassis that was causing an issue. But maybe what I want to look at is, for those coolant repairs, how did that change over time? Now, it looks like this report doesn't actually show me that out of the box. The person who built the report for me didn't put that in. But they have given me an option to go and ask natural language questions so I can explore the data myself. So they've given me some suggestions of questions that I might want to ask, things that can help me understand what sort of questions this model can answer. So what was the average repair time by the model of bus, or how many repairs were there each month? And I can go and customize these if I want to. So I can go and say, well, specifically for coolant, and it will get filtered down. So I can just use natural language to go and change and ask these questions. So I can see there was a big spike in August. So we're confirming over that time period, yep, coolant were the ones the repairs that were going up, and there was clearly a problem there. It's not just this numerical data that Q&A can help answer, though. Obviously, things like how much or what was the average, Q&A can do a great job of answering those, and we'll get some nice charts and graphs back. But I can ask anything that's available to me in this data set. So if I wanted to know, who is the depot manager there? Who is the depot manager? I can't talk and type at the same time. It'll give me some textual information as well. So the depot manager for Tottenham's this guy, Sam Adib. Now, maybe I want to go and find out, try and dig into this a bit more and find out what's causing these issues with the coolant. I could call Sam and say, can you go and look into this? And actually, I'm going to go and play the part of Sam now, take off my regional manager hat and go go into Sam's role. Now, Sam is a really good example of somebody who, like Keith, can just get their hands dirty with in this case, the data that they're looking at. And to do that, they're likely to use Power BI Desktop. So I've got the same report open here in Power BI Desktop, and I can start doing some more analysis with that. And in this case, I'm going to go and get some data to help me understand this information about the coolant repairs in these 2 months. Now, being coolant in August, probably there's some impact about the weather here. So I went out and looked around on the internet, and we found some good climate data about the weather in London and the average temperatures over these months. So I'm going to hit Get Data and try and pull that data here into Power BI Desktop. So you can see the whole range of connectors that Power BI can give us access to, everything from database platforms to file systems, and even anything like third-party applications or even Dynamics. And actually, Power BI Desktop does a really good job of just connecting to web pages. So I can just stick in the URL of that page that I found. And it's now going to go and pull down that web page. I can see a little preview of it here. And I could either go and look through the HTML in that web page and try and pick out the different tables in there. Or I can actually just say, I'm going to give you some examples of the bits of information I want you to pull out of that web page. And Power BI will work out what transformations it needs to apply to get the data into that format. So if I scroll down through here, we can find that little chart. And all I'm going to do is say, OK, this first column is going to be my month. And I'm just going to tell it some examples. So I'm going to start off with January. And you see as I start typing, it's giving me suggestions of all of the different bits of data it's found on the page. So it'll start off with Jan, and then Feb. And after I've given it a couple of examples, you'll see it's filled in the rest. So it's figured out, OK, there's the data here, January, February, March, and it's pulled all those down. So let's do the same thing for the temperatures. So we'll start off with the minimum. So 37 degrees. This is Fahrenheit, not Celsius, for those of you who are wondering. The minimum temperature in January in London is not 37 degrees Celsius. But it's automatically picked up the rest of them. It's figured out what I was asking for and figured the transformations out as well. So my maximum I can do here as well. Just give it one example, and it's going to go and pull all those in. This is a really, really simple way to go and scrape web pages. And the best thing about this is it's totally reusable. When I hit refresh on this, it's just going to go and apply the same operations. So if the data in the web page has changed, I'll get all that new data in as well. Really, really simple way to go and pull all that data down. Now, rather than finishing this off and waiting for this to finish downloading, I've already done this. Here's one I made earlier. I've got the 2018 weather data here with the same average, max, and min. Now, I can add that to my report. And by default, I might just get this on a page like this. I've just shown you the punchline, where I've got a fairly boring table of data. There's some nicer ways that I can visualize this average, min, maximum, and the number of repairs on those days. And one of the things that we've built recently is something called Charticulator. Now, this started off as a Microsoft research project. And the guys over at Research build these fantastic tools. In this case, they have built a fully customizable tool for building these fantastic, rich, custom visualizations. And the great thing about this is that you can export these as Power BI custom visuals. So I found an example on their site with Boston weather. So they built it using the Boston weather data set. And like I said, you can get these fantastic, really gorgeous charts, download them as a custom visual, and then load that into Power BI Desktop. So I've already done that. So let's take that same data, turn it into this other custom visual. And now I'm mapping exactly that same London weather data and my repair data into this custom visual that was built on a different data set. And you can see it's already filled in my minimum, maximum, etc. Temperatures and plotted this here on my graph. So I can see that the last few months of the year, sort of July and August, were really, really hot. And in fact, in London, we had some of the some record-breaking temperatures over the summer this year. Now, if I want to focus on a particular time range, let's rather than look at the last 4 months, I just filter it down to the last 4 months. I can see that my coolant repairs here were actually the number on category of repairs. And if I focus just on those, you can see there's actually just a couple of days towards the end of that hot period where those coolant repairs all happened. So I've really been able to narrow down this insight. There's definitely some correlation here, as you'd expect, I guess. Hot weather, buses get hot, they need more coolant. But what can I do about that? Well, me sitting here analyzing this data is one thing, but I actually want to take some action and go and be a bit more proactive about maintaining those buses and making sure that the coolant's there for them. And I can do that using PowerApps. PowerApps has a custom visual as well that allows me to drop this onto my report, and I can embed a PowerApp right here. So I'm going to take my, my defect category and my chassis and add that into the visual too, to kind of bind the data into this visual. And now it's going to go and let me choose the PowerApp environment to connect to, hopefully. Yep. And choose my Ariva one. And we've got a maintenance request app here that we've built to embed right here in the report. So now I've got PowerApps sitting right alongside all that analytic data as well. And again, if I choose my coolants, you'll see that gets passed through as context to that PowerApp. So I can link the data together and link the selections that I make in the report together too. And I can say, when this bus comes in for its weekly scheduled maintenance, I'm going to change it over and say every week during that hot weather period, I want to make sure this bus is getting coolant ready to go. So that's a really quick tour how we can use Power BI to monitor and track all of that data from a variety of places in that dashboard, how I can use it to augment the process of analyzing that data and finding insights, and then take some action based on that using PowerApps embedded right here in this Power BI report. Thanks very much, and I'll hand back to Arun.
All right, thanks so much, Will. So we're getting back to the final part of the presentation. So it's very easy to get started. So you like to think about this as, hey, how do you measure with Power BI? How do you act with Power Apps? And how do you automate with Microsoft Flow? So all of these services available. You can try them right away. In case you're interested in getting more detailed information, we have 3 really good sessions that go deeper tomorrow. So I'd highly recommend these 3 sessions if you're available here. So thanks again for your time. Have a great Ignite.